This is the BAM School Podcast, where we talk about business, adventure, and mission with your host, Buddy Rathmel.
Hello, and welcome to the BAM School Podcast. I'm your host, Buddy Rathmel. My guest today is James Kwon. He is the CEO and founder of Figments, a design company in Rhode Island, and really great and generous guy. I was introduced to him by one of our BAM School students, Chris Cahoon, who was an earlier guest on the podcast, and I'm excited for you to hear some of his story today. So, James, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, buddy.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, excited for our listeners to hear a little bit of the story that I've heard about you. But could you start off just by giving us a 60 to 90 second kind of life in a nutshell?
Sure. So my name is James Kwon. I'm the CEO of Figments Digital Creative Marketing. We started as a design agency, but really grew into a full-service digital marketing firm. I actually run 3 or 4 different companies now as we turn Figments into an umbrella company that has different subsidiaries. We call them business units. I am married, almost 10 years, 2 kids. We are praying about and going through the process of adoption right now. So 2 boys, and hopefully, God willing, we'll have a third maybe girl in the near future. Originally from New York City in the Bronx, went to high school a little bit in Northern Virginia, and then came up here for college. And I loved the Northeast, and so I just kind of stuck around. It is cold though, and so we often make it out to warmer areas as often as we can, basically. So that's it. I think 30 seconds, right? So I think pretty good.
So what's your favorite warmer place to go to?
So the kids are at the right age to be Disney fanatics. I kind of reluctantly went a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, yeah, I guess we'll go to Disney. It's fine. They might not remember it, but let's just go. And buddy, I fell in love with it. It was like, I was overwhelmed by how amazing it was. First of all, one of our family core values is find magic everywhere. And
cool.
It was so magical, like waiting in line even for rides. There's like little games you play and little like, hidden things that you find. And Walt Disney has always been an entrepreneurial hero of mine. So I've followed his story for a long time, Roy Disney, and loved just the thoughtfulness of everything, from the lines to the tickets to the app to the whole experience. Just kind of blew us away. And then the pandemic hit, and we didn't want to be holed up in our house in the Northeast when it's like -3 degrees out. So we escaped New England and lived in Florida, lived in Orlando for 2.5 months or so. And that was great. We got annual passes. We went to Disney a lot. So we went from like skeptical about Disney to going to Disney virtually. My wife and kids went virtually every day. And we're about to go again. We just booked more tickets for January. So we're headed out soon.
That is awesome. So you said one of your family core values is find magic in everything.
Yep.
What does that look like for you and your wife, or how do you pass that on to your kids?
Yeah. So, a little bit of my entrepreneurial history is starting business. I actually started in culinary. I don't know if you caught that, buddy, but I have a degree in culinary. That's kind of where I explored my creative desires. Like I wanted to learn more about food and make food. Turns out you don't really get to be creative in a kitchen. It's really good marketing and false advertisement. So I quickly got out of culinary and did graphic design, entrepreneurship. I started a design agency, but what I fell in love with when I started business is business itself. And one of the things that you learn in business quite quickly is mission, vision, core values. These are kind of core, like people talk about them a lot, and a lot of people do them poorly. But I was in my C12 group, which is a Christian CEO roundtable. We might talk about that more, is how to set core values properly. And somebody made this kind of paradigm shifting comment in that meeting that you should have core values for your family. You should have a mission and a vision and core values for your family. And I was like, wow, that's profound to think about. Yeah, our family is a unit. We should be aligned together. We should be going towards the same thing. We should believe the same thing. So we went through the practice, my wife and I, thinking about the core values of our family. And yeah, find magic in everything was one of those that came up like, yeah, this is truly what we love, what we love seeing in our kids and in each other when we are able to take the mundane, the boring, and kind of bring new life into them and find kind of magic in the smallest things. And when there is magic in big things, like in Disney, right? You just kind of get swept away in it and not be too cynical about it.
Yeah, cool. So what are some of your other family core values?
I thought you would ask. I have to pull it up. So I haven't memorized them yet. Christ above all, gratitude for everything, find magic everywhere, listen more, help the helpless, and laugh more.
Cool. Yeah, I think that we all have values that usually we haven't codified, and I create one of my leadership coaches was phenomenal about values. Wrote some stuff on values.
Yep.
But then I took the discovery process from him. I feel like to a next level, and of like helping people discover, like what you're saying is kind of aspirational values. These are what we're working towards, or that you own. You look like I didn't fully hit it.
So if you are in business, if you're a small business that gets to this size, you will quickly find out there are lots of businesses that follow a program called Traction or EOS.
Yep.
It's kind of a cool, it's a cool process, a cool way of thinking. The system that they have is called the Entrepreneurial Operating System or EOS. And really cool, actually, the Gino Wickman, I believe, was a believer and sold the whole system to a holding company, a management firm that is part of the C12 network. So,
cool.
Yeah, pretty cool values that are going into EOS now. Anyway, So the EOS program, the EOS methodology for finding core values is my favorite. The exercise is you and your leadership team think about all of the people that you would want to clone in your business. Like they're so awesome. If we had a cloning machine, I'd love to have multiples of them. And so you write their name down and say, what is it about them that I want to clone? Well, they just always show up on time. I love that. Or they're always smiling. I love that. They're always doing X, Y, Z. And so you do that with 4 or 5, as many people as you want. And then all of a sudden you start to draw lines connecting them, saying, wow, this person and this person, they share that. And we really love that about them. We wish everybody had this constant positive attitude, a commitment to blah, 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 blah. And you're thinking about stories around those core values. And then when you start to boil them together, you get hopefully 3 to 7, around 4 or 5 core values that you can say, yeah, this is it. These are the values that we believe in and we want everybody to abide by. This creates our culture internally. Yeah. And that is a powerful way, in my opinion. It's not these empty, hollow, these words like integrity, excellence, that it doesn't like you're not a fan of somebody because they have integrity, right? Integrity is like table stakes, but you're a fan of somebody because they are gritty. They always roll up their sleeves. They dive in. They're ready to, take on any challenge, and they do it with tenacity. So that's grit is one of our business core values or company core values.
Cool. Yeah, we actually have had on the podcast before an EOS implementer.
Oh, cool.
To kind of share the process a little bit. And for my own personal, I really looked at EOS and I ended up going with scaling up, really similar.
Yep.
So yeah, huge believer in EOS and what it can bring to a business for sure.
Yep.
One of the things that I do when I meet with a team and we talk about values is like I have them use a word to describe it. Like if you said integrity or whatever, but then a description to say what that actually looks like. Because one person's like definition of something. But then I go to the next level with them as well and go, which of your values is also an expectation for your team? Like some people have a value of excellence and they really expect that from others. And other people are like, well, I value excellence, but what I expect from others is friendliness or, whatever. But it's an interesting kind of process to work through with the team because you almost in every team in every situation you'll see people that have expectations of others where they're like, wait, you can't expect that of your teammate or it's just great fodder for team discussions and diving in. So cool. Let me dive back into some of the business pieces of. I really loved the story. I watched the video on your website and want to encourage our listeners to go to spell out your domain name.
Figmints, Figmints. Fig like the fruit, mints like the candy. I have no idea. I'll know in heaven how many people try to email me at Figmints incorrectly spelled or correctly spelled. Not the right spelling.
Right.
But figmints.com. Fig like the fruit, mints like the candy.
Yeah. So on there is some of their story. It's really cool. You can, see what they do, see some of the story in video form, but tell us a little bit of one, how you started, and then two, how it's grown and you've acquired some and started some other companies.
Oh, sure. So I was saying that Figmints, we started as a design agency. I've been doing freelance design for forever, like 20 plus years now, and started in school and just kind of continued to always do logos and websites and little graphic design things for friends and family. And turned out I was like, I think I could sell this. I think I'm pretty good at this. And started working in agencies and started building my own freelance business. And the freelance business got big enough where I did the math and I was like, I think I can quit my job. I think there's enough here to sustain. And
cool.
I convinced a friend of mine who was in college to quit school, and I quit my job, and we kind of did Figmints together. We kind of scoped out we would do like $250,000 in our first year. I was like, if we close this business and we keep these things, and I think we could do about $250,000. That's pretty good. Two guys, roughly out of school. We hit that number in July of our first year. We celebrate 10 years last October, so a couple months ago now. And we're celebrating our 10 year, and like our 10 year is going to be all for as long as we can possibly celebrate it. And that was really exciting. We hit that number in July, that first year, and
cool.
We closed the year almost double of our projection, and it was awesome. We're celebrating, and then like the next year. I had no idea. There's this thing called taxes that you have to pay. And it kind of wrecked us because we in our bank account, we had like just enough to pay the taxes. And then we ran payroll and we had $300 left in the bank account.
Oh my goodness.
And my heart sank and I prayed a lot, and tears, just really honest moments with the Lord. And I've had I've been lucky enough to have multiple experiences in my life where I feel kind of like I hear God's voice audibly. And I felt this complete peace in prayer that this is God's business. He's going to do what he wants. Hey, this was a great learning experience. I made some mistakes. We did some cool stuff. And if it all ends today, I feel really content.
That's awesome.
And I had this really true peace about that. And I guess he wanted us to continue because we closed a couple things. And I think that mental shift was pivotal for me. We closed the business, and then from there, we got serious about our taxes, serious about our books. And then we've grown about 20 to 30% every year. So we're about a $2.5 million company now, about 20 or so employees. And just recently this year, we're making a huge shift where Figmints is no longer just one company or one agency. We're actually making Figmints the holding company, and we have 3 or 4 brands underneath Figmints that really focus in on specific areas like enterprise, sales and marketing alignment, bite-sized marketing programs for small businesses, courses for coaching, consulting, entrepreneurs and startups to get off the ground and scale quickly, inexpensively, hiring as a marketing challenge. Lots of like cool little projects like that we're trying to get off the ground.
That's cool.
Yep.
So you mentioned C12, and tell us a little bit about C12, and then how has that impacted you?
Yeah, transformational for me as a relatively young business owner. I was always struggling, just like that experience in business where we almost went out of business. Nobody told me about Nobody told me about taxes. How dare I not know about taxes? And I would, during that time, I would just have coffee and hang out with some of my pastors, and they would ask, how's business going? And I'd be like, it's all right. We're struggling with this. How do I fire somebody? How do I tell a client that they can't get something? How do I do this and that, and business specific things? How do I do it well as a believer? And my pastors would say, yeah, that's hard. You have anybody you can ask, you can talk to about that? Like they never gave me any good advice. Right. So, I was like, this is so frustrating. They said, do you know any like Christian CEOs that you can talk to? And I was like, do you know any Christian CEOs? Especially in New England, there's not a lot of us here. Right. And we're like 1% evangelized. And it's like we have fewer evangelized Christians here than the 1040 window. So I'm here because I think this is a ministry field. So, so all of a sudden one day I had that same conversation with one of our new elders, and he was like, oh, my brother-in-law is part of this Christian CEO group. And I was like, what is that? And I went, and it's been amazing. It's incredible. Every month we meet, once a month I go and meet with other Christian CEOs around the table, who are wiser than me, who are, dedicated, who have been doing it longer. And they pour into me with love from not just solid business acumen, but also with this place, a spirit-filled place of wanting to guide me and wanting me to follow Jesus, right? Which is so different than a lot of just typical business advice that you get. And the curriculum is great. The organization is great. Actually, we're the agency. So there was this big, I guess you can call it contest. There was a contest to pick an agency within C12 to do the rebranding for C12. And so we got to work really closely with Mike Sherrill, the CEO, their marketing team, and redevelop the whole look and feel of C12 as an organization. So that's our work. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, I guess you can let me know too. But
when did you guys do the rebranding?
When did we do it?
Yeah.
So the rebranding was about a 6-month process in 2020. So we finished it up right at the end of 2020. Yeah. Okay, we started the exploratory process kind of in March or April, like right after COVID, basically, and then wrapped it up towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I felt like their old branding looked great. In fact, we met with the C12 guy.
Here's my the ambassador logo. It's regal, I thought. It kind of fits, but it is very like stodgy old white guy in a upstairs den kind of feeling to it. And they don't want that. And so, and it makes sense to want to be a little bit different.
I'm trying in real time. I want to look real quick. Okay. Yeah, I like it. Nice. Yeah.
So if you're looking at it, so this is the old logo, is just a word mark with C and 12, and virtually everybody on their team hated the serif. But so we created this really modern, fresh look. The shape, the pentagon, the five points, actually represents their 5-point alignment. So there's 5 key areas of business that we're always looking at: operational, financial, revenue generation, organizational, and then the key 5th element that no other organization looks at is ministry. So we're always thinking about ministry as the 5th spoke in the hub. And if you look closely, the pentagon is angled in such a way that it looks like it's moving forward, and the symbol the chevron at the very right edge is it represents moving forward, but is also a greater than symbol. So one of their taglines is "Do is greater than talk."
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, man. Well done.
Thanks.
That's cool. That's really cool. So C12 is it's a day a month, right? And then Is it about $1,000, somewhere in that ballpark?
It depends on how big of a company that you are, and it also depends on where you are. So I think the rates are slightly different in different regions, and but yeah, I would say in most areas it's going to be more than 500 and less than 1,000 for a single business. So we have two people actually. One of our president for one of our categories or one of our departments is in C12 as well. So we pay more than that actually.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think we were talking to a guy in a large city, and so I think they were around $1,000 for that. But I think he was kind of ballparkish too. So cool. Well, tell me a little bit about how the story of you and April and how all that came about, the stuff that God was doing there.
Yeah, so April is our president. She's we met in C12 actually. She ran an agency for 20 plus years, a marketing firm, and they were less digital than we were. And God was doing something in her life, and I'd like to think that this was God's plan. She had been running a company successfully for 21 years, and it kind of came to a point where she had to sunset or twilight that business, and she felt like, I'm not done. I still feel like I need to carry this vision out. And so she felt a calling. The story is kind of crazy. You should definitely watch the video. There's a lot of details I'm leaving out here, but she felt a calling to give me her business. Wow. She did an amazing, humble act of taking the business and presenting it to us. We figured out a structure where it was like an acquisition merger sort of deal. And so we brought her in. I like to use the analogy that it was like ships passing in the night. The ship was kind of calmly, not bleeding and, going down, but it was slowly going down, and we came up alongside it and took their crew and just sailed away. So yeah, she joined. So did about 4 or 5 other members of her team joined, and most of them had actually stayed on till today. So they're still with us. And her main product, her main offering, called Sales Amp, I think is really unique and deserves its own spot. So what we've done is really carve Sales Amp out as the main agency, the main entity. So most of the employees actually are on the Sales Amp team, and Sales Amp, starting 2022, we're starting the very first steps of making it its own entity and getting it out into the world.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you've mentioned a couple things that you guys have. You have trainhire.com.
Yep.
Tell us what TrainHire does.
Yeah. So TrainHire is an offering to help companies hire. We kind of hear it everywhere right now. Everybody is in desperate need of bringing on new employees or looking for new help. And I think hiring is a marketing challenge. So it's the same steps, tell your story effectively, get people to hear who you are, work them through a funnel, understand who's going to say yes and no, manage them, meet with the people that are most important, who get to that, middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel, delight the customers that you have, the employees that you have, and then get them to incentivize them to bring new people to the top. So that is a marketing challenge, all of it. And what I find mostly is that companies, when they hire, they hang a sign on the window that says, "We're hiring." It's awful. It's like marketing your company by saying, "Hey, we exist. You should buy from us." It's like, why? What is it? What do you do? Why are you different? Like, there's so many questions like that. And so we developed a curriculum, a course to help companies think through changing their mentality for hiring. And then the model right now is that we come alongside you, you go through that curriculum, and then we coach you through that curriculum and give you some guidance. We call it the done with you model. And then there's some software, there's some assistance. Obviously, we help you as much as we can. But yeah, lots of cool stuff in TrainHire.
Yeah, cool. I mean, one of the things just in our 2 short conversations that we have is I definitely see in you a generous heart to support others, help others. You know, you're like even April coming along, or, you know, just a lot of those things.
Thanks, man.
What are a couple of your own philosophies, values, whatever, around how you create culture? What are some of those things that guide you?
So I really believe that our culture, from a business sense, is wrapped up in the mission, vision, core values. And again, when I say mission, vision, core values, the same thing happens in my mind as it probably does in your mind and your listeners' mind. You're probably thinking, "Ugh, mission, vision, core values is like these, you know, these monolithic, you know, signs you hang on your hallway, and they mean nothing." And when you really unearth what you believe, why are you here? Where are you going? And what are the ways that we're going to get there? That's essentially the core of your business. So for us, mission, vision, core values is so vital. So our mission, actually, it's funny that you say, I'm glad that it exudes, because our mission is to help people thrive. That's our mission. That's why we exist. It's from the Chariots of Fire. I don't know if you've seen this, or some people may not have seen this, but it's a story about Eric Liddell, true story about this Olympian. It's actually juxtaposed with 2 Olympians and their journey. And Eric Liddell's actually a missionary, and his sister, he's walking with his sister in the movie, and he says something like, they're talking about how he wants to go to the Olympics instead of go to missions in China or something. And his sister goes, well, you know, Eric, I know how bad you want to win. And he stops in his tracks while they're walking and says, well, I don't run because I want to win. I run because when I run fast, I feel God's pleasure. And that is exactly what I want for everybody. I want people to live in God's pleasure. And so many people, it breaks my heart. I go back home to Virginia. Virginia is notorious for this because it's kind of a wealthier area. And a lot of my friends in high school, they have consulting jobs that they hate. They're getting paid like $200,000 a year, and they hate their life. It's like they hate every day, and I hate that for them. And I think business is this amazing tool that people can use to leverage themselves out of that situation. So that's why I'm so eager to help people start their own businesses, get them launched. One of our offerings, one of our new entities, is a curriculum to help people do that. And the vision to see this actually work for companies and actually help them, actually get them to succeed and do it in an efficient way that makes sense. I think there's a gap there. So we're working every day towards that. And that's what sets our culture. If you believe what we believe, you want to go where we want to go, and you're willing to take the steps and act the way that we act while we get there, that is a good culture fit. So that's our culture in a nutshell.
That's cool, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I resonate deeply with, just with your heart, and I think in today's world, like the opportunity, one as leaders, and you as a business owner, but to craft those things that can help people's lives be so much better. But then, even for individuals to go, like, okay, how is it, like, how can I live my life in such a way that I have energy? I'm thoughtful of others. Like, I'm not just going to this 9-to-5 grind that's sucking the life out of me in some way. But I think 2 months in a row has been the largest number of people that have quit their jobs in American history, because people are going, the Great Resignation. Like, people are going, I want to do something that is fulfilling, where I'm treated well, where I'm making a difference. Maybe I'm making more money, all these different things. And in some ways, like, I know it stinks for most of us when there's some job that we're used to, like going to McDonald's, and we're used to like being open and there being enough people to serve and those kind of things. But But I think there's some really, really good things that are going to come out of this in the long run.
Yeah, even if you work at McDonald's, so it's not the job, right? You can do consulting and have joy doing it. You can work at McDonald's and have joy doing it, getting a chance to serve people. It is deeply a mentality shift around gratitude, around humility, and thankfulness that changes the way that you look at what you're doing. And many times where people get stuck is like, this isn't really what I want, and I have golden handcuffs and I'm stuck here. And they're afraid. They have fear of, what comes next. This, in my generation, my lifetime, we've seen this unbelievable shift, and it's only going to get more evident that it's so easy to be able to create a business. It's so easy to start your own thing, make a living doing virtually whatever you want, or wherever you think is in need of most help, in need of most impact. You can make that dent in the world, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, that's why I'm so passionate about helping people realize that, because so many people fear that, like, what, it's a massive lift. I can't do it. There's so many things going on, but I mean, you have pretty young people making six figures, being influencers on social media,
right.
which still, that's a category that I don't understand a lot. I'm super interested in it, but virtually anything. Like, you can make money doing whatever. So if you can get by, don't you want to do the thing that's going to help you to thrive, where you feel like, this is my calling. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. That's really cool. So this project that you alluded to, you're calling Alchemy, and you actually offered that to the listeners, of the podcast and our students at the BAM school. Tell us a little bit about Alchemy. It's an awesome idea.
Yeah. Thanks.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So this is an offer that I'd like to extend to anybody who's listening now, or anybody who's connected in this way. So the Alchemy engine, the Alchemy program, is around helping people start, scale, and thrive in business. So the Alchemy engine is actually the foundation layer. So the class might be called something else, but the Alchemy engine is the curriculum, the courses. There is a suite of software tools that you can use to help grow your business. We even have a production assistant that can come alongside you and help get some of these things together. If you're saying, James, that sounds cool, but I have no time, and I don't know, I don't want to learn all this stuff, and I can't figure it out. It's great. Well, we have somebody who's skilled who can help you. They're a little bit better than an intern, not as good as a senior strategist, right? They're like somebody who can help you kind of piece the parts together. And then on top of that, we have one-on-one coaching. So either with me or one of our coaching strategists. We have live Q&As usually that are run by me. So we have those monthly, private Facebook group, and then just the structure, the world that we're trying to create here. Lots of cool stuff that we're trying to do. So if you're interested, any of the listeners, I would love to send you a class. So the class is made up of, for starting, scaling, and thriving, is it's modeled off of Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps. You've probably heard of that. So I love the model. I love the framework that Ramsey creates, helping people just think about it in like increments and just kind of these key parts. And so I've spent a year and a half developing a framework for starting businesses and to 7 steps. And so I'll do the 7 steps real quick. It is the $100 test, market validation, 10x customers, which is selling, those 2, more important, and then 6-month runway. Those 3 things, more important than branding, which comes next. And you can imagine how hard it was for me not to go, oh, you need to create a really stunning brand, the first thing. No, that's not what you need to do. You need to validate your market. You need to sell the thing, try to sell it to 10 people, create a 6-month runway, build the world, design the world that it look bigger than you are. That's step 4. Build a marketing engine. We call it levers and gauges. build a team around you, even if you're a solopreneur, and then leave a thriving legacy. That's number 7. So if one of those classes seem interesting to you, I'm happy to offer you one of those classes. Or I think the first class is probably where you should start. So depending on when this releases, we'll have that set up, and happy to share that class with you. So let me know.
Yeah, and your email that they should email you at?
Yeah, I think if you can see this, you can send it to jameskwon@figments.com, or you can send it to james@figments.com. Find me somehow in social, LinkedIn, or on Twitter or Instagram, and then you can send me a note, say that you saw me in the podcast and you'd like the class, and then we'll get you a link to that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I want to go back. You were saying that, in today's world, like, the opportunity for people to thrive is there, the opportunity for people to have their own business. What is your thought? I've been talking to a lot of people lately, and I as I was coaching someone, I could feel that they were like, yeah, I want to do this thing. For them, it was about finding a mate and doing the work to, find someone. But I could tell, like, there was just like this hesitancy of like going over the edge. And as I was thinking, I was like, I think it's like the promised land. Like, maybe 1 out of 6 like really fulfills their destiny, gets to see some of those dreams. But so many people that I'm just like, I just feel for them. I'm like, oh, you're so close. Like, just do this or that. Do you feel that with people around the business thing that you're creating?
Oh, sure. I mean, there are way more people that start than finish the program.
Yeah.
And I think there is, fear of the unknown. There's a fear of, or just a feeling of complacency. Like, what I have now is easier, right? Doing nothing is easier than doing something, usually.
Yeah.
So, that's why this program, the most successful students in this program have coaching as a part of it. It's more expensive, but coaching is such a key part to the program to help guide you, continue to push you along, continue to remind you that, this is, let's break it down. It feels monolithic, but let's do this one thing, these 2 things this next couple of weeks. And I'm going to come back and check on you. I'm going to keep you accountable. That's pretty powerful to be able to do that. And no shame. I think everybody needs some level of that in their life. I get it through C12 with the peers around me. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know. So being able to have the collective brain, input into my life is really powerful.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much, James, for your time. This was great. I really enjoyed it. One of the things in my life that gratitude has switched, and I said it in the middle of this podcast in my mind, was I always think of the phrase, why does this always happen to me? But like in a really good way. Like why do I get to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you were talking and I'm getting to learn from you and hear some of these things, I just said to myself, why do I get to be the person hearing, learning from James this morning, a special one-on-one class in a sense of the podcast that a couple hundred other people are going to get to listen to. But and it's just a piece where gratitude is changing the way that I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I used to be annoyed by people who would say, it could be worse. It could be worse. They just kind of shrug it off. It's like, it could be worse. It's like, obviously it could be worse. It could be better too. Right. But that mentality, that shift, if that's your phrase, buddy, for you, it's, why do I get to do that? Like, I'm so thankful I get to do this. And it truly is, if you condition your mind and condition your thoughts to think this is the thing that the small thing is the thing that I deserve nothing. This is the thing that I'm expecting, and then everything else is gravy. That is a mentality shift. We talked about the career that you're in. It could be any career as long as the mentality shifts. This is a small trick. Maybe this is the only thing that you remember in this podcast, but this is a great example. My wife hates this example, but when it's a hot summer day and you're going back to your car and there's you're thirsty and there's a bottle of water in your car and you're frustrated because that bottle of water is like 120 degrees, right?
Yeah.
But if you if you, before you take a sip of that water, in your mind, you go, this is going to be great tea. I get tea for free. My car warmed up this tea for me. It totally changes the moment the water hits your lips. It's like, oh, it's great. This is what I was expecting. It's hotter than I was expecting. It's awesome. That living your life with that sort of mental framework, that paradigm shift is arguably one of the most important things that you can do, and so biblical. Like so many people talk about it today, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, and like there's a bunch of like business authors who talk about gratitude. But the Bible's been talking about gratitude for thousands and thousands of years. So it's such a good thing, a good state to be in, and take that away.
Totally. I love it. I was just thinking, as soon as you said walking to the car, I totally pictured like the hot, bottle. That's a great quick mind shift towards gratitude. So, well, thanks so much, James. Really fun to have you on the podcast. Thanks for your offer of the Alchemy project to our listeners. And I wish you and Figments the best as you head into celebrate your 10-year anniversary.
My pleasure. Thank you, buddy, for having me. Thanks for listening and getting to this point. If I can help with anything, let me know. I'd be honored to do that.
BAM School, facilitating a global, self-funding, disciple-making movement through business. Thanks for tuning in to the BAM School podcast. Find show notes, free courses, resources, and more at forbam.com.